Hey everybody, Mike from E3 Realty here. Hey, today I'm going to do something special. Instead of coming at you, just throwing all kinds of stats and information at you, I've actually got a special guest here. A good close friend of mine who's actually a handyman extraordinaire. You can give this guy a bubble gum, popsicle stick, and a hammer, and he'll build you a house. Let me put it that way. My good friend Jason Pheychanpheng from Southern Fixins. He's a handyman, so he is hireable. So we'll cover that at the end. But today I'm basically going to ask him some questions. You know, everybody wants to DIY their home. They want to fix it up before they sell it, or they want to do stuff once they move in. But you know what? There are some things that you can do wrong, some things that may not really get you a good resale value or may look sloppy. So I'm going to ask Jason some questions, and he's going to give me some feedback on that. So that way, as you're thinking about, hey, I want to do a kitchen thing, or I want to paint, I want to do flooring and stuff, here's some tips that are going to help you. So that way, when you make these decisions, if you decide to do it yourself or you hire professional to install it, at least you kind of have a game plan of some things to ask the professional, or you have some tips on what you're doing before you jump in and make a mess of things. So welcome, Jason.
How's it going, Mike?
I'm good, man. I'm just trying not to sweat because, man, it's hot up in here.
Well, it's just the personality.
Well, I appreciate you coming in here.
I appreciate you having me.
So we got a lot of clientele and people who always ask questions. I mean, I'm out showing homes. I'm helping people sell homes. And they always have these ideas, these big vision dreams. And, sometimes they have these, Dom Perignon dreams, but they're on a Budweiser budget. And then they try and do their own paint, flooring. And then you see the after effect, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. So hearing it from me is one thing, but hearing it from somebody like you, because you've done it all. I've seen his work. I've actually helped with some stuff. The man knows what he's talking about. So if you got pen and paper or you got your phone, you can write notes. Now's the time to take. If you like to paint bathrooms, kitchen, what are the things you see when you go into either fix a mistake or go into home and you see some paint jobs that the homeowner's done? What are some tips you can give us as far as what not to do?
Well, the number one thing I see in homes is a lot of people, they're afraid to use tape, as it might take paint off the wall, but tape's your best friend whenever you're painting in a bathroom or a kitchen or anywhere, because of what that does is keeps your excess paint off other areas. And it gives you a lot more defined line, and it gives you a more professional look at the end of the day. Another thing I see most commonly is in kitchens and bathrooms is people use a flat base paint, and that's not good for a moisture-bearing area such as a kitchen or a bathroom. You would want to use a semi-gloss or a satin paint, and the reason being is it helps to repel the moisture, and it also helps to repel staining and mold.
In that type of scenario, when you're using the wrong paint, is there a longevity as far as if I use a flat paint in a bathroom, will it wear out, discolor? What kind of?
It's flat paint does tend to discolor more. It attracts the stains and holds the dinge that's in people's hands from the everyday use of wear and tear.
Like light switches,
and just even brushing up against the wall. I mean, you'd be surprised how quickly the dead skin cells come off of you, and you in a highly used area. And over a month or two, you'll start seeing it's dingy, and you're like, why is my bathroom getting so dirty? Or why is my kitchen so dirty?
That makes sense. And usually bathrooms and kitchens are high traffic areas. You're touching things and moving. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, you brought up tape. Plastic or drop cloth?
It depends. I mean, if you want to cover a large area, and you want to do it more cost effectively, I would recommend using like a 7mm, 0.07mm plastic. The reason being is it's fairly inexpensive versus a drop cloth. You've got your drop cloths that are made out of actual cloth material, and they're good as far as covering couches and such like that. But when you're trying to cover a large area like a floor or a countertop or something like that, I recommend plastic.
Okay. Plus, it's easier to dispose of.
It is.
And if you use your tape right, you just rip up the tape, roll it up, and done?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So going on your tape thing. Let's say somebody's deciding that they want to, let's say, paint like a kitchen or bathroom, whatever room it is. What are some things that you think, like steps that they really need to do before they jump in and just grab that roller and start painting?
The number one step is determine what kind of paint's already on your walls, whether it's an oil-based paint or a water-based paint or a lacquer-based or an acrylic-based, because that determines what you're going to have to use to go over it, and whether or not you're going to have to use a primer as a base foundation to go over it with your new paint.
Makes sense.
Then the next step I would recommend would use a good degreaser to wipe down your walls, especially in a kitchen. That way because when you cook, a lot of people they're in a hurry to cook and get dinner done, and they don't always reach up and flip on the exhaust fan over top of the cooktop, the range, whatever it may be, and you're actually emitting greases and stuff into the atmosphere of your home, and that attracts to the walls, and that's where it lands, is on the walls. So you would want to use a degreaser to wipe your walls down in a kitchen. Also, in the bathroom, you would want to use a degreaser to get soap scum and such off the walls.
What kind of is a good degreaser? Is it
just a simple one? I mean, you can use Dawn dishwashing liquid if you really want to. Use 1 part Dawn, 4 parts water. Make you a solution in a spray bottle, and just spray it and wipe it down.
So simple. See, he's got the simple solutions. I'm thinking, what do I got to go buy? WD-40 and motor oil. Yeah.
There's a lot of different solutions, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of cheap solutions to keep you from having to go out and spend that extra money. When you're already doing it on a budget.
That makes sense. I like that. Well, let me ask you this question. We're gonna go hire a painter. Say we want to hire a professional to, like you or somebody. What are some things that my viewers should know as far as things they should ask, things they should look for before they hire that painter, and then they get the, oh Lord, we paid for this?
Yeah, what you would want to look for is, you would want to get references from them, see how many paint jobs they've actually done, how long they've been in the industry, and do your research on them as well as their clientele to see whether their clientele's been happy with the outcome of their work or not.
So basically ask for a report card. Show me what you did. Prove it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but there's a lot of people, they're not on Yelp, and they're not on Facebook, and they're not on Instagram and stuff like that, but they've still got references because of the jobs that they've done. And you can ask for a list of references, and if they're not willing to provide a list of references, or they're hesitant about it, maybe shy away from them and keep searching,
That's a good tip, though. If they're not going to give you something to show what they can do and who they've worked for, then maybe they're you're taking a chance.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. Well, so we're kind of talking about paint. Let's get into the kitchen. I see some pretty interesting things in kitchens. One of the main thing I see a lot of is people do their own backsplashes and countertops. So, we've seen a couple when we've made. Give me some insight on what do you see the most common things that DIYers think because they watched the show that they should do, but when they actually do it, it's actually not a good idea.
A big thing I've noticed in kitchens is a lot of people are trying to reface their cabinets, and what they don't understand is most of the cabinets that come out in the 80s and 90s that are in the homes around here, they have a lacquer-based finish on it, right? So when you try to go over top of that with just a regular acrylic-based paint, you don't have a good adhesion. So you have to sand it and you have to prime it, and it's a long, drawn-out process to get the professional finish that you're really looking for. And they'll roll it or they'll brush it, and then once they start wearing on the cabinets, opening cabinet doors and stuff, the paint tends to come off. So you have a lot of paint removal, and it makes it even harder for other people to go behind it and do the work.
I've seen that many times too. What about like backsplashes and people do their own backsplash and countertop kind of?
Yeah, backsplashes, they can be very tricky. There's a lot of YouTube contractors out there. They'll watch a YouTube video and automatically they're a contractor. And here's the beauty of it. If someone's a professional and they're a contractor or they're a handyman and they do this for a living, and you give them a call and say, hey, this is what I've got going on, would you be willing to come and consult me and give me a idea to go in the right direction? That's all it takes is a phone call most times. Whereas you can watch a YouTube video and you think you've actually got it figured out, but a lot of people don't actually read the instructions for the application of the products that they're using. So when you do that, you end up with tiles falling off, or the grout's not right, or things are misaligned or out of level, and it's not aesthetically pleasing to the eye, nor is it waterproof, or is it structurally sound at the end of the day.
Sounds like me. It's like that birdhouse that's all sideways tilted, the door's upside down on the bottom. Nah, I get you. When we're talking about kitchen upgrades, I know I hear this a lot of times. It's quartz versus marble versus granite. Can you give me your take on that? What you think is good, bad, and ugly, and for like a homeowner that's got no kids versus a family, and what you think is kind of the better route to go there? Because we're talking about longevity. Sometimes if you got kids, certain ones won't hold up as well, and they got to treat or do whatever to wear out. So I'd love to hear your insight on that.
Yeah, granite and marble, they're a very fragile material. And not only that, they require maintenance. Okay, they require yearly and sometimes bi-yearly maintenance where you have to go in and you have to thoroughly deep clean them with a stripper, and you have to reseal them because it's a very porous material. Whereas quartzite, which is the new fashion of countertops that's come out, and it mimics marble, right? Well, the beauty of it is it doesn't stain. You don't have a maintenance to do to it. All you do is wipe it down with just your regular kitchen cleaner, and that's it. And it's more prone to resist chips and cracking and such like that.
Okay, so the marble and the granite, it's nice to say you have it, but
it is. And as far as the cost goes, I mean, quartz is by far way more affordable than quartz or than granite or marble. You know, granite and marble is more so of a status than it is a practical application.
Well, as far as like saying like installing it, like if you're going to do yourself, which one's going to be easier?
I would suggest consulting a professional. You know, if you're going to do it yourself, you definitely want to consult a professional, you know, and get their insight on what steps you should take in order to install any of them. Because, like I said, marble and granite, they're very fragile and they can break, and then you're out hundreds of dollars for a broken piece that you can't use.
Yeah.
You have to go buy it again.
Start all over.
Quartz is a little fragile, not as fragile. You can be a little bit more aggressive with it as far as the handling of it, but it's also heavy, same as marble and granite, you know. So if you pick it up in the wrong direction after it's cut, it's going to bind and it's going to break, and you're still going to be out hundreds of dollars on the materials you just purchased.
Yeah, once it breaks, it breaks. You can't glue it back together.
You can glue it back together, but it won't be the same.
Yeah, and then you probably see that seam mark.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's a lot of common mistakes where people think that they're a DIYer and they can do it, you know, and then when it comes down to it, their materials break, and then they're out this extra money, you know, because they're having to go buy new materials, and it can turn into a huge fiasco.
Like starting all over.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, you see that. So let me ask you this: let's get into like bathrooms, countertops in kitchen versus bathrooms. Is it very much the same scenario?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I mean, because you live in the majority of homes, 70% of the traffic is either in the bathroom or the kitchen.
Okay.
You know, so that's where you actually spend your most time, because that's
true.
I mean, you go in there and shower, you shave, whatever you do in a bathroom, you're in there for an hour or so. You know, the kitchen, you're in there preparing meals, you're in there for hours. You know, yeah, when you go to bed, I mean, you're in your bedroom and you lay down and you go to sleep. You know, that's what a bedroom's for. That's the reason why it's a bedroom. But a kitchen it's next to the family room. You know, a bathroom, it's close to the bedroom.
So
you know, as far as countertops go, it's generally the same concept.
Okay. So there's no materials you should use in a bathroom versus a kitchen or kitchen.
No.
They can be the same. Okay. Would that pretty much go over? It sounds like paint's the same way too. Use a semi-gloss of some sort.
Yeah.
Some durable. Is there anything like when you're buying paint or any things you should look like I shouldn't buy when you're talking about paint again? Specific things. Like I know you said about semi-glosses or versus flat. Is there things to look for that you don't want on your wall?
It's pretty much the same across the board with all materials. Cheap materials, they're cheap for a reason, okay? Then you have your mid-grade, then you have your high-dollar materials, okay? The high-dollar materials are high-dollar materials because they've put the research into it. They've done the testing. They figured out that it works and that it holds up best.
Okay.
You know, and the mid-grade is generally a subsidiary of that high-grade material that it's for the working class people that can't afford the high dollar stuff.
I could think of a couple right now.
Mid dollar stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I would recommend staying away from the super low cost stuff.
Because it's usually got like for paint, you probably have to get on 10 times. So you're going to use as much as you would.
Yeah.
Make.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you also want to look for something that's got a primer base to it and one coat coverage. If you're a DIYer, you know, it's going to give you the ease of the job.
What about like in a bathroom, like fixtures? I know because, you know, there's all types. You have the cheap. What kind of things should you look for when you're buying fixtures in like your plumbing, like, you know, your shower head or?
It's just when you go to the store, no matter what store you go to Home Depot, you go to Lowe's, you go to Bed Bath & Beyond, you go to any of those stores, the fixtures are on display for a reason, okay? Because they want you to get the feel of it. They want you to feel what it feels like, the quality of the materials, how it's going to feel for everyday use, you know. That's what I recommend is when you're shopping, don't just purchase online because you don't know what you're getting. You know, go into the store, feel the product, and see if it's something that you're going to be comfortable using each and every day. You know, whether it's the knobs on your cabinets, whether it's the door handles on your doors, the switches on your walls, the shower valves, the bath handles. You know, get an actual feel for it.
Like take the time to like touchy feel. It's like this is good. So
Exactly.
I see this. You see them all there. They look shiny. There's some of them like a plastic, and there's different materials that they make things with. Is there certain things when it comes to like faucets? Because you see those nice ones on there, and I bought one like that just for a fix from Amazon. It looks really nice on it, and you get it. It's a little bit more plastic. Whereas if you go to the the name brand store, I see a very similar thing. It's a different material, but it's really, I mean, it's heavy duty. You can tell.
Yeah.
Is there? I mean, is that really going to affect longevity? Is there something that is it really worth it to buy all those high end ones like the name brands?
So the type of material does affect the longevity. You know, you've got the older style that's more of a chrome look, and it's generally a plastic, and it's got a chrome plating on it.
Yeah.
Right. So as far as durability, it can hold up. You know, but it all depends on how much you use it and how rough you are with it. You know.
Okay.
The more expensive stuff, Moll and Kohler, and the high end Delta side of it. The reason why it's more expensive is because it's made of a better quality material. Yeah, it's either brass with a brushed nickel or an oil rub bronze coating over top of it. It's the base material that really.
Oh, the stuff that's inside of it versus all plastic. It's okay. We always know metal based anything is going to last longer than plastic.
Yeah,
that makes total sense.
But it also depends on what type of metal it's based. You know, brass is generally the most common base for either a kitchen or a bathroom to hold up for the water.
We got a couple more I want to ask you real quick. I want to get into flooring because that is flooring seems to be like the number one thing. You know, it's like tile, reengineered hardwood, LVP, blah blah. Okay,
yeah.
You know, tile lasts forever. It's probably the most durable
if it's installed properly.
It's installed properly, correct? Now, in your expertise, you know, if it comes down to tile versus like a luxury vinyl planking, LVP they call it, which one would you prefer for everyday use for a home with children?
I would definitely go with LVP. The reason being is because it has a bit more give than tile. Tile it's a stone or a ceramic or a porcelain-based material, so if a child was to slip, they could really injure themselves, you know, as far as bruising their head or, breaking an arm or something like that. Whereas LVP, you can get it from 6 millimeters all the way up to 20 millimeters in thickness, and it has a little bit of give because whenever you hit it, it has the cushion between it and the subfloor.
And it probably flexes where you hit that tile, and it's like a rock.
Because it's sitting on basically a bed of concrete and stone itself. Whether you have a wooden subfloor or a concrete subfloor, it's solid.
Maybe that makes sense. Like, you know, especially the kids. I mean, I wonder if that's why I got issues because maybe I think maybe my parents had tile floor. Must have fell too many times. No comment.
Well, we won't go there. Another issue with tile is it also has a maintenance. Okay, you have to do 6 months to annual maintenance, where you have to go in and you have to clean it and clean the grout, and you have to reseal it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's an epoxy-based grout that's coming out, and they're still developing it to where it's supposed to be essentially maintenance-free. But anytime you add sand to a product, it becomes a porous product, right?
Dirt, oil.
So, exactly. It's going to be absorbent. So
I didn't even think of that. Before I put it on the floor, I had tile. I never even thought about cleaning it. Nobody ever talks about cleaning and maintenance on tile. Longevity-wise, what would last longer, tile or LVP?
Well, the good thing about LVP is it's come a long ways in the last 10 years, whereas before it used to have a 5-year limited lifetime warranty on it. Now, 90% of the LVP manufacturers, they offer a full lifetime warranty on the quality of the product, where, if you own a home for 40 years and you install LVP 40 years down the road, it's still there to be good.
Yeah.
But you want to be aware of the amount of foot traffic you have when deciding what to install, The higher the foot traffic, the thicker the millimeters you want to go with the LVP.
That makes sense, because sometimes I see those things at the big box stores, and they're real thin. You hold them, and it's like it's flexing.
Yeah,
and that's probably real thin, and that's going to wear out from normal traffic.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, let's add one more thing. I hear about this reengineered hardwood. Some of it looks like LVP.
Yeah.
What's the difference in LVP versus that reengineered hardwood?
Well, it says it in its name. It's reengineered hardwood.
Okay.
It's made out of a hardwood material, but it's not actual hardwood. It's made to mimic what hardwood actually is.
Okay.
LVP is a solid rigid core material, that's 100% waterproof.
Okay.
Reengineered hardwood, it looks good in a dining room or a den or throughout your house, but once you start getting water on it, it's just like laminate flooring where the edges and the butt joints are prone to buckling.
Oh, okay. So you got to keep that in a non-water zone, and it's probably not a really good thing for pets and
kids. No, it's not, because hardwood, any kind of wood, it's also absorbent. So if you have a spill or a pet accident, it's going to be prone to soaking that up, and then you're going to potentially have mold and mildew under it and smell.
Yeah, so I'm going back to LVP. So if you're going to install LVP, I mean, obviously you got to clear your floor and get rid of. What are some things that you could advise somebody that's going to do it themselves?
If you have linoleum, it's going to have a substrate underneath it, which is going to be stapled down. Definitely, you're going to want to remove as many of those staples as you possibly can, and that's also going to determine how thick of the material that you're going to use to go back over it. If you can't get all the staples out, drive them down, and then instead of going with the 6 millimeter, go with maybe a 12 millimeter. That way, you don't have any staples popping through the material.
Oh, that makes sense. The thicker if it pops up. What about if, say, we got a cement floor that we're laying over? What should we look for on that?
You want to look for cracks in your subfloor, right? A lot of the cement pads out here, the houses are built on, because the ground in California is always shifting, the pads tend to crack and they'll be offset and they'll be uneven. So you're going to want to look for that. And if there is, then that's when you're going to want to do your prep work and grind those cracks down and fill them and potentially pour a self-leveler and get a good substrate to lay.
Otherwise, you have nice flooring that's popping out because you're going to have clicking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In most LVP, it's what they call it, tongue and groove?
It's click and lock.
Okay.
That's essentially what it's called. It's click and lock flooring, and it's super easy to install. The basic DIYer can do it themselves. The main thing is read the instructions when you're doing it.
And that's like, even though it's clicked and locked, if it's the floor's on level, can it still pop out and come across? Okay.
It can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right on. That's I learned about that, about the Reengineered Hardwood. Last but not least, we're going to talk about like electrical.
Okay.
We know that, the Uncle Bob, drunk Brother Joe, whatever, anybody can do electrical, but, we see like there was a house here out in Oakley Lake, fire broke up in a beautiful home, you kind of wonder who did the work. Caution, things that you should advise, DIYers before they jump in and start doing electrical, like things that seriously you think that they should look out for and not do. And if there's any project you think they shouldn't do, flat out hire a professional, now's the time to share it before they...
So for your average DIYer, I would recommend not doing electrical unless it's changing out a light switch or a cover plate around a light switch or even an overhead light. Anytime you might have to potentially add more wires or change a breaker or anything like that, I would recommend calling a professional, because at the end of the day, you're really putting yours and your family's life on the line with dealing with the electrical, okay? Because all it takes is one spark to generate a fire inside of a wall.
Even like if you're moving a box from one side to the next, you think?
Yes, definitely call a professional if you don't know what you're doing, because I've opened up walls and I've seen things that, DIYers done it, and they'll just leave the switch box inside the wall because they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. And then when you go in to do the major remodel, it's like, oh, wait.
What is that?
So then you have to do a little more investigating and find out where the other end of it goes to.
And if they left it live, it's an accident.
9 times out of 10, it's live, and it's just got a wire nut and possibly some black tape or electrical tape.
That's like you said, that's a fire waiting to happen.
It's a fire waiting to happen.
Nice. I see. I didn't even think about that. So light switches, if you're DIY, changing out a light fixture, cool. Anything that above and beyond
make sure you find the breaker and turn it off. And if you're unsure which breaker it actually is, just turn the power off to the entire house.
Better safe than sorry.
And you can normally find that on your outside panel.
Cool. That makes sense. So any other tips or anything when it comes to DIY, anything in your house, things like common issues or things you see people do that you walk in and go, oh, good night?
Yeah, I mean, if you think you know how to do it, then by all means, give it a try. But if you have any doubts to it whatsoever, just pick up a phone and call a professional and, tell them, look, I would like to do this myself, but I need someone to consult me and give me the right directions to go.
Brings up an interesting conversation. Is this something you do? Can people call you? And
yeah, absolutely. I will come and consult you, and the beauty of consulting, I will offer it to you in 2 ways. I can be there with you and consult you, and you do it from there with my guidance while I'm watching you, or I can give you a detailed list of what steps to take.
And what products to buy. And
What products I would recommend as far as ease of use and installation. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And would you even offer to install if necessary?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So he do everything. Like I said, I've seen some stuff and that blows my mind. He's just got that knack for it. So what's the best way to get a hold of you? Like if somebody wants to say they want to hire you for just
give me a call by phone. My phone number is 925-437-0426. And you can also find me on Facebook at Jason Pheychanpheng.
That's it. Cool. That's all the questions I got, man. I appreciate you taking the time to hang out.
Appreciate you having me.
Hey, it was fun, man. And like I said, thank you everybody for paying attention. Again, Mike E3, you know what I do. I just want to keep you in the know, and this is how I keep you in the know and out of trouble. All right, be good, and thanks for stopping.